Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Cruise News. And in this week's episode, Port Canaveral announces that they had a record number of passengers go through their ports this year. Carnival Panorama has had to cancel 4 cruises because of some mechanical issues. And a Virgin Voyages cruise ship sent out an emergency alert to their passengers. All of this is in this week's episode of Cruise News. Hey everybody, my name is James. Welcome to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and get right on into these news stories, including this first one, and this comes from the Port Canaveral, actually, in Orlando. Port Canaveral announced that they had a record-breaking year this year as far as number of passengers goes. This year, the port had an amazing 6.8 million passengers actually go through the port this year. That is 2 million more than there was the previous year. Now, obviously, we're still kind of coming off of COVID, so that can kind of be, expected that it would kind of uptick. But this has been a record year, regardless of pre or post COVID. A record 6.8 million passengers went through the port this year. It is the busiest, in terms of passengers, the busiest cruise ports in the world. And they actually predict it was 6.8 this year, but they're predicting that next year in 2024, they're going to up that from 6.8 to 7.3 million passengers. So obviously cruising definitely back from the shutdown during COVID times, getting record number of people to go out on cruises, which is probably why cruises aren't as cheap as they were not too long ago. They've started to kind of, if you've noticed in the past year or so, those prices have started to tick up because more and more people are coming back to cruising. So obviously they're raising the rates. But yeah, Port Canaveral had a record 6.8 million passengers come through this year alone. All right, and then some bad news if you happen to have a booking on the Carnival Panorama. Unfortunately, it has canceled its next 4 sailings. This would be from cruises that were supposed to leave on November 11th, so the other day, the 18th, the 26th, and December 2nd. All of those cruises unfortunately had to be canceled. Apparently, Carnival said there's some issues with the propulsion system. I think it said something to do with maintaining their maximum kind of cruising speed. They had some issues with that. So they had to cancel it, put the ship in dry dock to work on those issues. So they're canceling those 4 cruises. Kind of sucks for the 1 week because that is the Thanksgiving week cruise. They did, I think if it was the first 2 of the 11th and 18th, I believe I saw that not only were you going to get a full refund on the cruise price, but you were going to be able to basically take another cruise. So you almost like you got a free cruise in there. I can't remember what it was for the last 2. Not, they obviously they are doing something for those passengers, but definitely sucks. Like I said, especially if you're doing that Thanksgiving cruise, because while they can just book another cruise, I'm sure there is something open. The Thanksgiving ones tend to fill up. The ones around the holiday times tend to fill up pretty fast. So unfortunately, those people were not able to go on those specific cruises. They were all Mexican Riviera cruises. But like I said, those had to be canceled. Seems like Carnival's having a lot of issues recently with a lot of their propulsion systems. Hopefully they can get all that running. But yeah, for the Carnival Panorama, the next 4 cruises have been canceled. All right, and coming from Virgin Cruise Line, for guests on the Valiant Lady had a bit of a scare if they just so happened to be watching TV at a certain time, or they were on the app, the Virgin mobile app, or the cruise line app on their phone. They had an emergency notification come across telling guests that they needed to go to their muster stations. It was the full thing. They needed to get to their muster stations, bring their life jacket. But it said also you had to have warm clothing and bring all your medications, as in there was something seriously going wrong. But what turned out that this was actually a false alarm. This wasn't actually going on. Apparently, the cruise line was doing some type of drill, some type of testing, and somehow the notification was sent out only through the TVs and through the app, so people that weren't in their cabin or weren't paying attention to the app didn't notice it. There was no other kind of notifications, but it did go off on that. So obviously some people got a little freaked out. I'm not too sure how many people actually went to their muster station, but they did send out a notice basically saying that was an error. They were doing testing, and there is no issue or anything like that. It also said that basically I guess after they issued the alert, it's now I've obviously never been through one of these, but I guess when it alerts through the television, that it takes over the TV. It's just that alert. Apparently, they had a little trouble getting that alert off of the televisions and back to the normal TV programming, but they did get all that under control as well. So no actual emergencies on the Virgin Valiant Lady, but definitely a bit of a scare for some of the passengers if they happen to be watching TV at a certain particular time. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for another episode of Cruise News. If you're new to the channel, let me go ahead and invite you to subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I post weekly videos on cruise news, theme park news, on top of vlogging all of our adventures, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this week's news stories. And as always, everybody, thanks so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video.